2, 1. Happy New Year. I'm John Miglosh for the WDMA and the International Society for Strategic Marketing. We're starting our long-awaited series on predictive customer modeling, or customer predictive modeling, or something, on using computers in marketing. That was my very first talk on this subject in about 1983, I think it was, at the Catalog Conference in New York City, and I was the first person to ever ask the New York Hilton AV team to put a computer on the podium and use it to present. That's unthinkable now. You present every time you go to present. You bring your computer and they bring their projector. I was also one of the first in the United States to have a projector, which I used to carry around with me and sit on overhead projectors, and it would put my computer up there. I imported it from Germany special. Hundreds and hundreds of dollars, maybe thousands. And that's what we had to do in those days. I also, to that first presentation, flew with a compact computer, which was, the size of a good-sized sewing machine. I used to go around the conference humped over, carrying this big suitcase on my back because I was afraid to leave it anywhere, because it was, $5,000 computer. Now I use, $150 computers to do all this modeling. What a change is the world. I'd use my phone, except it's too small a screen. So today we're going to start a series on modeling. And I remember back in the early 90s, when we did a project for the Hudson Bay Company. And they had a few requirements and expectations. First of all, they expected that we would fail. I found out later that we were hired with the expectation that the IT department would prove us wrong, partly because they were on twin ES 900s, I think, but it might have been 9000s, ES 9000s, and they were doing all their orders. This is a Hudson Bay Company. So in a good month, they do 20 million transactions, 20 million purchases. And we were going to load those into a PC on a relational database. And theirs was all flat file technology. And we only had a few people, I don't know, maybe 10, 20. And they thought, gee whiz, there's no way. And then they called our vendors. They called Borland. They called, one day Borland called, and I said to Michael, who was one of the chief developers on Interbase, which came from Starbase, which was I better quit trying to name all these ancient platforms. Anyway, I said, Michael, what's the best read-write speed you've ever seen on this relational database thing? And Michael said, well, the best we've seen is 6 records per second. And the theoretical limit, we think, is 10. And I said to my chief developer, that doesn't sound so good when we have 20 million a month. I don't know how many 2 million seconds is, but I think it's longer than a month. And since I'm on my something billionth. I'm on my second billionth second saga or something. I don't know. The numbers are too big. But the point was we couldn't update 1 month's worth of transactions at that rate. And he said, don't worry about it. They don't know what they're talking about. Well, anyway, when we stepped on the gas, we were doing 300 records per second, which doesn't sound like a lot today, but in those days, I remember when we got our first 1 gig drive. So one of the advantages of listening to me about predictive analytics is I kind of invented a lot of it. And so you won't get this, everybody else is dead that was hot in the time, and now the youngsters don't know what we went through. So let's talk about, this is a great article from a director of data science. Let's move over to that, and we'll just have a look-see about how to improve your company's ROI on predictive analytics. Some people don't even believe that's possible, I have to say. And in fact, he cites a Gartner report, and this is within the last couple. I don't see a date on this, but everything I brought up was within the last few months. I was shocked also. I do a lot of searching for marketing news, but today I changed the parameters and said Customer Predictive Modeling news. And I got all kinds of stuff that I'd never seen before. So sometimes you have to go, sometimes you can just go by date, by marketing, but sometimes you have to go, with a particular topic. And because, there's thousands of new articles coming out every day, and if not millions, who knows, especially for marketers who are always running at the mouth. Anyway, Gartner said less than 50% had reached a transformational level with data and analytics. And the sad part is, I believe that that's probably an overestimate, that probably not anywhere near 50% have really seen a transformational level. Because I have almost never seen a company that had a transformational level until I got in there and started poking around and said, hey, is anybody looking at this stuff? Has anybody seen this before? This could be a whole new business. And you say that to them and they look at you like, what does he know? He's the old. In the old days, it was he's the kid with a computer. What does he know? Now he's the old guy. What could he know? Anyway, so we're going to get to case studies at the end of this series, but this series could be 10 talks easily. So it's going to be a little bit. But I can just tell you that you can get to the transformational level. That's what I'll say. And so now this guy, William, who I wrote to, and I said we're going to be talking about him. And I invited him to be on the show. So, William, I hope you're out there today, and I hope you're listening. Let me see if let me go over to the Periscope here. Okay, well, I got some people. I'm here. Oh, good. I was talking about you, too. I hope you heard that. Yeah, that's the guy's on here who did the 300 records per second. Yes, he's a genius. Anyway, so most of the time we start with, we need a predictive model that does X. That's the way the Hudson Bay said it to us. We want a predictive model. We want a customer model. Well, I didn't know a model from a hole in the wall. So I called my friend Connie Bauer over at Marquette University, and she said, you can create a predictive model, a valid predictive model with 50 customers, as long as they're the right customers. And I was trying to explain to her, no, we have 14 million customers. How do we do that? We don't want to try to find which are the right customers. We want to just spend time thinking about what they're like. Anyway, so she taught me about SPSS Shade, which I have now been cited in as a contributor. Everyone else is a PhD, and I never took a math course in college. Anyway, so here's William's 3 principles. First principle, success can be a journey. And where I differ, he's right. More than 85% of the time and effort required to build a model to full deployment is spent in pre-modeling. Yeah, there's a lot of work trying to figure out. I mean, there is and there isn't. In the second point, we kind of ready, fire, aim deal. We kind of pull it in, throw it at the wall, and see what value we can find right away. And there's often a lot of value. With Adobe, this division of theirs, they were mailing 40,000 customers a month who were totally dead. Hadn't done anything in 5 or more years, even though they've been mailing them every month. So we quickly saved them, in round numbers, 20,000 a month. And they were paying us more than that, but they were mailing a lot of pieces. Still, we've done that in a number of different cases. We've done that just right off the bat. Boom. Okay. Deployment. Now that's an interesting term. But I remember hiring an accounting guy who said, well, I'll come back when you close your books. I said, we're on Quicken. We don't close our books. We just hope we get it right. And if we don't, we change it. Well, we don't build a model for deployment. We're always building new models. We have a system that builds models. So even today, the modeling industry is about 20 years behind the kind of thinking that we've been working on since the 90s. Anyway, I got to stop. Time's up. William, I hope you reach out to me on LinkedIn. Happy New Year, John, with the WDMA and the International Society for Strategic Marketing.